Welcome back to the Thoughtful Journeys podcast. Today is episode 12, and today we're here to talk about masculinity and being a man in 2024 and how we got to that point. So, Justice, I kind of wanted to start this off with, what does it mean to you to be a man?
To be a man means a lot of things. I would say there's a lot of things in being a man that are not usually talked about. To start, obviously securing a future for your family, doing everything you can to do that within your power. You know, that's like whatever family you consider your family, trying to make the best future for those people is definitely like the first thing that comes to my mind. But I'd say a second thing, and there's more points we'll get into in this episode, but the second thing I think of too that's not talked about much is being in touch and in control of your emotions and feelings, and being able to harness that and use it to empower you, but also being able to look at life, look at your hardships, look at your problems with a sober mind, and be able to tackle those issues without avoiding them. I think those are the main things that really come to my mind.
Well, looking at that, it's really common to run away from your emotions or feelings.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do that.
Life in general.
Yeah. A lot of people, like a lot of the grind mindset is like to basically sacrifice everything else in your life and just focus on, like that's a big thing nowadays is, just focus on yourself,
right,
and
money,
business, money, whatever it is, and sacrifice everything else. But to me, that's not really being a man. I think, like you said, a family and sacrificing and taking care and protecting your family, and making sure that that future is going to be stable, and that you're creating a future for you and your family. You're not just kind of being okay and comfortable with where you're at, and try to make it better for the future generations in your family.
I see a lot too that people get intimidated by empowering their family, in the sense, like I've seen before growing up, like you have a kid, there's limitless potential with this kid, but the parents feel insecure by the potential of the child, so they, instead of empowering the kid, try to kind of knock them down occasionally and do things that keep the child or keep your family member from. And I think empowering your loved ones is also a strong suit of being a father, being a man, being someone that can be there and actually make a positive difference. Is you're training with your kid if your kid wants to be great at a sport. You're not just like do whatever you want to do. You're helping, you're assisting in some way and helping with that future. I think that's a huge part of it.
It's like, in some ways, I feel like a lot of parents are afraid that their kids are going to be better than them, but that's what I want out of my children. I want my children to have better lives than I ever had. And that's building towards that is that's a huge journey in becoming a man to me. When do you think you go from being just like a boy, or I guess there's like a middle area where you're not really either, and then how do you go from boy to man? Like what do you got to go through in life, or what makes you become that?
I think, in my personal opinion, it's because I think this is definitely an opinion, it's not necessarily a fact, but if you are able to take on all of your life's trials and hardships without assistance, like you have all of your shit taken care of, and there's nothing there that's like making sure that you're taking care of it. You don't have someone like a parent, you're like late 20s and you have a parent that's checking in, making sure you're doing your shit. Like you work, all your shit's covered for by the work you do.
Yeah, your parents aren't, like scheduling like your doctor's appointments and making sure that
your bills are paid.
Yeah, you're keeping up with this, or not paying you every month to pay for your bills, but you're financially stable, and then also just held up on all your responsibilities on your own.
Being accountable, because the main thing I see, and something me and Marissa have been talking about a lot here recently, Marissa's my wife, by the way, something we've been talking about noticing, there's a lot of the family members we notice that aren't doing well are people that can't acknowledge and take control of their life and their problems. Like, instead of saying, okay, I have a problem with drinking, they just keep drinking to keep avoiding dealing with it, and then spend all their money on drinking. And it's like,
it's sad. I laugh, but it's so common. It's almost hysterical, but it's like, that's normal.
I think it's harder now than it's ever been to be a man. I think there are more distractions and more things in place that keep you from focusing on yourself.
You're catered so much when you're younger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, it's like older people say this. It wasn't exactly like this, especially not for everyone. But you know that, like the saying, like as soon as you're turning 18, you know, you get out of the house and you figure it all out on your own.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen at all nowadays. You know,
right.
Like people. Not that there's anything wrong with, like, you know, you're going to college and you're getting, you know, you're still living with your parents or whatever, but like there's people that choose to not work and just mooch off their parents into their late 20s, and like I know people, you know, that are like that, and it's crazy to me. But
I think there's so much put into place because a true man is something that's hard to control, you know, like that's a man that is an individual. They're unique to themselves and they have core values and beliefs that are their own, is a hard individual to put in one spot or control. And I feel like there's so much nowadays where it's like, okay, well, you can just waste all your time on your phone, or you can waste all your time playing video games or whatever. List of distraction. Drinking, sports can even be a distraction to keep you from focusing on your life, you know. But I think like all of those things, if you can harness your time and focus enough to find who you are and establish who you are as a man and uphold what you want to uphold, then you're a man. A man could be someone that's completely different from me, but they uphold their stuff and live their life on their own terms, and that's still a man to me. You know? But
it doesn't have to be there's not one way to get to that point.
Right.
But I feel like there are definitely some like set things that, like, what you got to be able to do stuff on your own, and you got to avoid all the distractions that are, because I mean it's so easy, especially with social media, to be who the internet wants you to be,
right?
You know, or whatever's popular. It's hard not to be that.
Yeah.
But if you can come to those conclusions on your own without, you know, you don't just like have this influencer online that whatever, even if they're like a great person and they give good advice, but if you're just everything they say, you're just going to take that, immediately apply it to your life without thinking about it, like that's not being your own man either. I mean, you're just following this person, and like you got to figure out things on your own. Like, yeah, you can get great advice online or in books or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, through your own trials in life, you got to figure out what you want, who you want to be, and what you want to become, and what you want out of life, really. Because one thing about nowadays that's really good is there's so many options for what you can do to support your family. There's not like, oh, you graduate college and go get this job at fucking corporate that's how it was for a long time, or you know, go blue collar guys that go work in construction or at a factory or whatever, and then, or you know, whatever it is. But now, like, there's so many opportunities with online, and it's amazing. All the creative like opportunities to make your own money and not work for someone else.
It really is amazing, dude. And we're in such an interesting time period too, because everything's on the table, but things are looking bleak at the same time, you know? And I feel like your concept of real life can be so skewed if you're just focused on one lens, like looking at it through the Twitter feed, you know, your concept of life is going to be way different than if you just go live life. Like, problems are always going to be there. The world has always had, the world's going to end at this day. That's happened multiple times, but like...
Well, forever. I mean, we're always in the end times, right?
Right, always, So it's like you either focus on that and let it consume you, or you live your life until that comes to you, you know? And I think really, truly, though, when it comes to being a man, just being your own individual self and being comfortable with that person that you are, and not trying, like you said, not taking something you see online that's like Andrew Tate, and it's like, this is how you be a man. And you're like, okay, I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to get those glasses. And I'm going to...
you follow these exact steps, and this will make you a man. This will get you everything you want out of life. And then you do those things, and
then you're just a sheep.
Nothing happens for you.
Yeah, then you're just a little sheep guy. And you're not even because then you're just like, oh, well, this cookie cutter thing that this guy says works will work. But then you're not a man, you're just someone following. And I think a man is someone who leads and kind of not necessarily always leads, but just kind of makes their own way in some way. Find your own way, you know? Do something that is unique to you, that you care about. Could be anything, but make your own way.
Right. Well, and obviously there's good advice on things, but when you get super specific and you're just following it,
Right.
Like on a step-by-step basis.
Course.
Yeah. Like, you need to get this kind of car, have this kind of hairstyle,
right.
Do this kind of business, or you need to have a business. You can't work for someone else, like,
right.
Like obviously, like, not the easiest, but definitely like the best way to, like, there's a lot of risk with it, but to build huge wealth is through a business. But
you
don't have to own a business to be.
No. Yeah.
Like, you can work for people, work jobs, and do really well in life. It's not just about, having your own business and doing that on doing everything online, like a lot of people do, or being a YouTuber, or a streamer, or whatever, because it's kind of sad how, like, a lot of, like, kids, you'll see, like, kids, they say they want to be YouTubers or whatever instead of being whatever, like
something that benefits society. Yeah.
Which there's going to be those people. There's going to be more of those people. That's going to continue to grow. But, like, with how much, like, declining, like, blue collar jobs are, like,
right.
You would think, but surely people can come to understand that all these distractions are just going to end up hurting them, and eventually, like, we realized it early on.
Right.
Like, early 20s, very early 20s.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people kind of will hit a point eventually, but if you wait till you're 30, 35, and then you're like, fuck, I've had a consumer mindset my whole life. I've been blindly following things, and now I'm 35.
Right.
And I don't have anything I wanted.
Well, and then think about, at that point, how many hours have you wasted?
Yeah.
How much time have you spent doing nothing? Like, and that's, me and Marissa were talking about last night, actually. We were talking about the idea of, because she's going through wanting to delete apps off of her phone that distract her as well, and trying to focus her time, because we were talking about, now that we're going to have our son, a lot of, if we sit and think, because I think the times you have your actual introspective thoughts are when you sit with no stimulation and what comes to you, and that, when me and her have been doing that, we both said, like, what we've come to is thinking about our son, we want to make the best future we can. We want to have, like, 4 kids. We want to be able to make enough money to have 4 kids. We want to have a home that we can fit that family inside of, and do those things. And that makes you think about the future more. And the first thing that she came to, and of course the thing I've been on, is just like, the first step to doing that is limiting your distractions. Because you're going to be bored. You delete your apps off your phone that you spend all your time on. You're going to be bored. But then that time of being bored will promote you to do productive things, eventually.
Well, you still got to, because you could easily replace that with some other bad habit,
Right,
but,
yeah.
Like you said, like, it's like sitting in your room and staring at a wall for 30 minutes, see what comes to your mind.
See what happens.
See if you can do that, like, with attention span. Like, it's crazy. Go do yoga. Like, shit, bro, like, something like that it's a great experience. Like, I don't know, I just feel like being more in touch with nature and life and who you are, and trying to be in the moment and live life for what it really is, instead of just, because I often find myself, and I feel like this is very, very common, just going through the motions. Just a week goes by and you're like, fuck, it's next, like, a week's gone by, and it's like I just blinked and the next week's here. Well, that's because I didn't plan my days. I just did the same thing. I went to work, I came home.
Just existing.
I'm just existing. And I feel like it's easy to do too, because with, like, social media, with Netflix, with YouTube, with video games, it's very easy to get in a cycle like that. But when you can actually go make some memories for yourself and do some things, and while you're creating that future, I feel like it's almost like today the biggest battle with becoming a man is avoiding distractions, honestly.
I completely agree with that.
And delaying gratification. Those two things come to mind when I think of, like, my biggest hardships when it comes to being responsible and creating a future.
Finding that
is
person,
definitely, I've very much struggled with distractions and delaying my gratification, instead of, like, getting something that'll make me happy now, doing something that'll make me happy in a year.
Right.
You know?
That's what you mean by delayed gratification, that kind of, working for the long-term goal type shit,
Like I'll be happy right now if I'll just use like food for an example. I could eat super unhealthy right now and it'll make me happy in the moment, fill me up with dopamine. But then tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to feel like shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose weight like I want to. Or I could play video games instead of going to the gym today.
Right.
You know, like it'll feel good, like right then. But in 10 years, I'll be like, fuck, I should have been going to the gym more consistently. You know.
I think something that I've thought of while we're talking about this too is the productive distractions. You know, because it's like, okay, am I going to be on like Twitter or YouTube just watching something mindless, or am I going to like play chess with my friends and communicate with them, you know? Because like those forms of distractions are completely different. You playing chess or like watching a movie with a friend and then talking about the movie, or playing a sport with a friend, things like that, you're actually in some way being productive because you're not just relaxing, but you're creating a bond and challenging yourself with somebody else. And that's way more productive than just sitting on YouTube. You know, there's different forms of distractions that are actually productive, I feel like.
Because you could sit in your room and play video games for 12 hours a day, or for a couple hours at night, you could play a couple games with your friend, like a couple video, you know? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with video games as it is, but the problem is with addiction. And that comes with everything. It's not just
you
video
see
games.
How many people brag
Video
about having
games,
1,000
food,
hours
caffeine,
in a game.
Whatever it is, you know, there's all kinds of things. That's another thing that, like I say, that there's a lot more opportunity now, like for financially specifically to like make money, but there's also a lot more opportunity to waste time. Because there's a lot more distractions, and it's really easy to get, like, you know, you get on your phone and next thing you know, an hour's gone by. On, like, you'll get on Twitter, next thing you know, it's an hour later and you're like, fuck. I've just been, can't even tell you what I've been doing.
You've just been scrolling.
Got nothing productive out of it.
You got the daily topics in your head, but other than that, and I just looked it up. I mean, how many people, when you're playing a game, brag about like having over 1,000 hours or whatever amount of time into the game? I just looked up, because my highest amount of time in a video game is 300 hours. That's around about 12 days of time just in that game. And you think of, like, if you put that into a skill, you put that into a relationship, you put that amount of time into anything else, like, it takes like, I think 275 hours or so to be fluent in Spanish. So like the amount of time I put into like Elden Ring is the amount of time it takes to be fluent in like a different language, you know, like Spanish, like an easier language. And that just really puts in perspective for me. Like, I mean, I enjoy the time I spent in Elden Ring because it was relaxing and I had a great experience, right? It brought ideas to me from like the adventure and looking at the stuff. And it proves to me through the challenge I can do what I want to do. But at the same time, moving away from that is really what I'm trying to do, you know, pushing myself in the direction of...
Because when you're playing a video game, at the end of the day, what you're doing is distracting yourself from real life, which is good. You know, it's good to have a release sometimes, but when you're overly doing it, it can become very, very dangerous, you know?
Well, and what's the difference between somebody that's like working hard for their future and somebody that's just stagnant? It's just the effort they're putting into it, you know? It's just
what they're putting their effort into.
And when it comes to manhood, I feel like disciplining yourself nowadays is the main like strength you need to be able to do what you want to do, because all it takes is you just disciplining yourself to put the time into it. You're going to wake up and you're not going to want to do that thing, but if you just go and do it consistently, eventually you're going to see some form of result from it, and not just like doing it and then not trying to do anything else with it. Like me, I'll make a song, but I haven't been promoting them or anything like that. So, and at the same time, I'm just kind of not doing anything because I'm not promoting it. I'm not pushing it out there. I need to put in that extra work to do that, you know, and take those extra steps. Like making the podcast, we make the episode, but then like making the shorts, making the promos, making the things like that. Like those other steps are what I could spend time on versus like watching fucking Oopaville or Moist Critical talk about like a topic of the day.
About Trump getting shot.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I've been thinking. That's kind of where my mind's been at, in that kind of realm of just discipline. Discipline's what comes to my mind.
Especially, I mean, like I can't even imagine what it feels like, the pressure put on you when you realize you're gonna have a kid. You know, like I don't know what that's like, you know.
Dude, it's beautiful, honestly. It makes me feel
amazing,
motivated. It makes me feel really motivated. And it makes me want to do more. It really does. And I want to, it's done nothing but inspire me to want to keep pushing, you know, because I know the path I'm on, I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But it makes me want to go that another degree of like, okay, I'm doing this surface level work, like I'm getting good at music. I'm really happy with how the podcast is going, but how much better could I do those things?
Right.
You know, how much better can I do? Because my current jobs, there's not like a lot of room to move up. And starting a business, I've teeter-tottered on that idea. I was like 90% into starting a business before, but it's like the amount of time that takes is something that will be gratifying, but at the same time will take me away from the things I'm trying to work towards, you know? So I'm just trying to find a way to secure the future I want, where I can spend my days with my family, make money, but keep building something that produces enough revenue so we can travel, so we can put them in any sport they want to be in, put them in a good school, like things like that. And it's lit a fire under me. It really makes me want to do more and just keep, I feel less stress and more excitement, really.
Do you feel like, have you thought about what kind of like role model you're going to be?
Yeah.
And like, so like what kind of role models have you had in your life, like male role models?
I'll say my dad, first male role model, he definitely took the step of not being the like pushover dad, but being very hard-nosed. And I've said it before, but dictatorship, not a democracy, was his form of relationship. I think that's productive and semi-unproductive, because in the sense as a role model, he's shown me work hard, apply yourself, and you can make anything possible, you know? And that means a lot to me, because that shows me if I work, I keep pushing, I'll get what I need. But at the same time, he checked me too much. You know, there's a line where you start destructing the person you're trying to build up whenever you check them enough, you know?
Right.
As a role model for my son, I want to be the dad that can make him think he can do anything. Like, you want to get up and train for football or whatever, I'm going to get up and work out with you. I'm going to push you to see how hard you can go, you know, and like see what new levels you can reach. I think that when I think about what role model I want to be for my kid is like, you want to do music? I'll put 4 hours a day into music with you. Let's do it. Let's start, you know, just that kind of, because I had people saying, okay, you go do great in sports, but then wouldn't like be there with me to.
Well, it's what they wanted you to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But didn't want to promote me to like, or push me to, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, go do sports, but when you're home, like whatever, who cares? Like, it's like, but that time you should be invigorating me to want to do more and want to focus on that thing. You know? That's what I think of. Just being a like constructive, supporting, but like also you got to tell them when they're doing something wrong. You know, you can't just be like, oh, you're doing great, keep going. Like, you got to be like, hey, you fucked this up. We got to do this different. We got to fix this. That's the job of a father too. Is like the mother's the positive support, the love. The dad is also that, but you're mainly the one who steers the situation. Like, okay, hey, dude, you made a mistake here. We got to fix this and do better on this, but don't destruct them with it, but help them, promote them. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's that fine line.
Honestly, like when it comes to role models for me, like my dad was very, when I was younger, hands off. Mm-hmm. Kind of in sports, he was kind of like your dad, like really wanted me to do sports and like push me towards that. Which I love sport. I found that on my own that I love sports though. Like I always loved sports growing up and I played them all the time. But it was a weird experience for me because when it come to other parts of my life, my dad was very much like supportive, but not like super into it. Right. But just kind of like he didn't really care what I did. Right. And like you said, goal of mine is definitely to be as a role model, to be more involved and especially as a boy, like you're about to have a boy, and like I feel like you need that structure as a boy if you want them to become the man that you become a man. Because you can, like I said, we found it younger, but I don't think it's necessarily because, I think it's because of the choices we made based on the circumstances we were in. I don't think we were put in a place where it was easy for us to do that. Right. I think that we we struggled really hard, and we decided to take that in a positive way. But
right, we found ourselves there.
Yeah. I think it also could go the other way, and where you're getting enough, so like you're getting financial, like you're fine financially, you're getting support. It's not that bad, like not that bad struggle, and I feel like you can get too comfortable too, and I feel like that's not a good thing either.
Comfort leads to complacency for sure, because you end up being like, okay, well, why do I need to go do this and bust my ass when I will have this is paid for,
right?
You know, but I think about too a lot when we're talking about role models and talking about fathers specifically. When it comes to my dad, something interesting is he's never valued individuality. I feel like that's something that really took me a while to build up for myself, was my confidence in my uniqueness, my confidence in who I am that separates me from other people. Because he even talks to me now when he's talking to me about my son and him coming into the world. He's like, well, if you push them to be like healthy and do these things, then they're going to get made fun of at school. I'm like, who gives a shit, dude? Like, you know, it might be difficult. I'm not saying I don't want my kid to have any friends. Of course I want my kid to have friends. But if he's got people shitting on him at school because like he eats right or he works out, you know, then I'm going to tell my kid, like, fuck those people, you know, like keep pushing, do you. My dad's always worried about what other people think. He's always worried about how
the image
is perceived, the image, the like, how does this look to other people? And it's like, dude,
if you're raising your kid based on that, it's not going to turn out well.
You're just gonna make another carbon copy of something. You know, you're gonna make someone that fits into the mold. But who are the people who make the money? Who are the people who make a difference? It's the individuals. It's the unique people. It's the people who do stuff that sets them apart, that make something new because they think differently.
Oh yeah, the whole part of being, everyone would love to be exceptional, but the whole thing with being exceptional is you have to be different than other.
Right.
Like you have to be your own person.
Bring something unique.
You have to be completely different from everyone else.
Yes.
That's the sacrifice or payment of being exceptional, you know? And like we've talked about this before, and it's not just for the sake of just be different, just to be different, but what I feel like most of the time, whatever it's popular, or whatever most people are doing, is generally actually not the best thing to be doing.
Right.
So in most cases, it's better to be different. Plus, I mean, if you want to stand out, you have to be different. That's just how standing out works, is being different from the crowd.
In some way, either being more skilled or being unique or something,
Because when you're younger, you just want to fit in.
Right.
But then as you get older, you want to stand out and be better.
Right.
You know?
And it generally,
it's weird.
The people who create the coolest shit are the kids that didn't fit in school as well.
Right.
The kids who went through struggle during that growth period, and then it made them into something unique, you know? And that, like, the whole idea of, like, trying to avoid any kind of social backlash for being different is just, I think, completely unproductive. And I think it differs where you're from. But yeah, I really feel like it truly is valuable to be yourself. And there's not, like, as much distractions as there are in the world, there's just as many things to keep you from being confident in yourself, you know? And I feel like the more you can avoid the distractions and the more you can avoid the hurdles that keep you from finding who you are, the more successful you'll be in life, because that's what matters at the end of the day. If you're old and you like who you are and what you did, what else, you know, what else is there?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how the world perceives you, because in, you know, 100 years, who's going to remember?
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And what difference did you make, you know? Yeah, that's what matters.
You just got to know it for yourself and try to figure it out while you're here.
No. Well, here real quick, everybody, I want to introduce you to my beautiful wife, Marissa. She's currently a week from being 6 months pregnant. She's looking lovely. You want to say hi, everybody?
Hi.
See the beautiful belly here? This is the best woman I've ever met in my whole life. I love her. I just wanted everyone to see her. She's here with us today in this beautiful park.
Yeah, I forgot the name of this park.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. It's a nice spot, though.
It is. What do you think, though, Hopper? What do you think about individuality? What do you think about...
Well, yeah, I mean, just... Really, I would just be reiterating what you've already said.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a big pressure to be, like I said earlier, what what the internet wants you to be, or what society wants you to be, or even a lot for, you know, like what your parents want you to be.
Right.
And even at times like, or what your boyfriend or girlfriend wants you to be, you know. People expect you to be a certain way, but if you can find people that want to be with who you actually are rather than try to make you into something that you're not.
Yeah.
Because I think, especially parents, people struggle with their parents wanting them to have a certain job or live life a certain way, or
Right.
marry a certain type of person and live their life a certain way, but like, you just got to figure it out
Yeah.
on your own.
You gotta find it for you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, so many times people are like wondering and they're upset and I can't figure out who I am, you know. It's like that's the reason they're distracting themselves. That's the reason they're avoiding these thoughts, is because they don't think they can figure it out. But if you give yourself enough time of being bored, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. The reason people were so much better at painting and making music and shit in the 1700s, 1800s, is because they didn't have shit to do but that thing. There
Right.
wasn't like, you know, there's probably some form of distraction, like you can go fucking kick a rock around, but you'd rather
Yeah.
go do something productive you know. And basically we just have a shinier rock to kick around.
Well, yeah, there wasn't 24/7 ease of access to entertainment.
Yeah, but
you
it's
know?
the equivalent of kicking a fucking rock around still. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a shinier glass fucking thing, but it's still wasting the same time, making
Right.
you not do anything, you know? So, and drinking has always been a distraction that people lean into. Drugs.
For sure.
I prefer to drink and use drugs in the sense that it helps me think more about life and have a deep conversation through those means. I think that's a more productive way to kind of use substance, but that's just my preference. I think
There's definitely
no
a place
substance
for
is the
it.
best. Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, like no substance 100% health wise would be the best, but I think that you can, I mean, obviously stay away from like hard drugs and stuff.
Right.
but,
Yeah. No crack, no meth.
yeah.
Yeah. Nothing's going to destroy your
But
life. but-
Something I've always been really interested in is some type of like guided, like hallucinogen, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, with
like a shaman
Uh,
experience. Yeah.
mhm. like where they go out and do what's it called? The drug they do?
Oh, DMT.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca, yeah. Something like that, I feel like would be something, because I've never really done drugs, you know.
Right.
Like I smoked a little bit of weed in high school or whatever, but I never really got that much into it.
Right.
But that's something I would be interested in doing, because I feel like it would help me and benefit my life rather than just distract me and take me away.
Well, I think that psychedelics in the Roman times, it was either Greek or Roman. I think it was Roman. Once you reached like manhood, you were given psilocybin-laced wine by a shaman and guided through a journey, and
Yeah.
that was your entry into manhood. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that is a huge part of breaking down those walls, the preconceptions, those things you have. If you
Yeah.
go through a guided trip like that at that coming of a man age, you'll find those things. It's just, I've told this story, but took mushrooms at 15, boom, I'm asking why am I putting gelatin in my body, and I start thinking about food.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like breaking down those walls, and if you have someone to ask you the questions, like you're not tripping balls,
Yeah.
right?
Don't
But
they
like,
call it ego death?
Right.
Something like that, yeah.
if you take a high enough amount of a psychedelic, you have ego death, which is where you lose your concept of like your ego and self and stuff like that. But I mean, there's plenty of people that are that have shitty personalities that take a bunch of psychedelics and are still shitty people
Yeah.
after it. Because like it's a huge thing in Silicon Valley, like, oh, I'm sober, but I take like a psychedelic or whatever. I'm going on a journey, an ayahuasca journey, and it's like
Yeah.
that's a super common thing, but it's in the right context. I feel like psychedelics are something that's like a stepping stone. It's like you're going through a big tumultuous change in your life. You need to figure it out, or like you go through a lot of growth and you want to check yourself. Take a little bit of a psychedelic. But I truly think if I could get like just in a position where coming into adulthood and you're trying to figure things out and trying to break down your preconceived notions, taking a psychedelic with a shaman or something like that is a great way to kind of start
Yeah.
off and with an open mind and find yourself and do those things. And
That used to be like the ritual.
right, it used to
Yeah.
be like part
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, it used to be a part of becoming a man. I mean, even the Indian cultures, Native American cultures have done that too, where they send you off into the woods for a week and you come back from the woods to your tribe whenever you've spoken to the spirit of the forest, right? Like those things are all, they're passages into manhood, and that, what are both of those things? But putting you in a situation where you become self-reliant, you know?
Right.
Like that's all, it's just, that's what being a man is always meant, is like, you don't have to lean on your tribe. You don't have to lean on your support system. You find it for yourself and you make it for yourself. And
it's a whole different world now, though.
It is. And I feel like now it's even harder because
it is harder.
People fucking hate you if you're growing, dude. People will turn their back on you if you show too much growth.
And it's looked down upon, or not encouraged, I'll say, to have a traditional family and a wife and kids and do that. It's so weird to me that's like, that's not like it's like uncool to do that, you know? It's crazy to me.
Well, and a lot of it has to do with social media pushing the like double income, no kids like thing and like shit like that. But I really, everything seems to kind of be set up to keep men from becoming men. Because if you have a society full of true men that are individuals, that think for themselves, that are independent, that's not an easy group to control. That's not an easy group to put into a box.
Well, like we talked about with the school system, you know, it's clearly set up in a way for us to be obedient and like that. It's like
from the jump.
From children, like 4 years old.
Yeah.
You're being trained to obey and comply with whatever you're told from authorities.
Right.
And I think, actually, I saw something the other day. I forgot who was on with him, but it was a Tucker Carlson podcast, and they pulled up a clip from like a Joe Biden speech.
Okay.
And he was talking about the schools, and I know Joe Biden's like, you know, fucking retarded or dementia, whatever.
Right.
But dude, he literally said, when he was talking about schools and like this teacher, something happened with a kid, and this teacher like was like, your kids are not your kids, they're our kids, like saying like
the school
America's
systems.
kids.
Right.
And Joe Biden, he was like, I want to state exactly what a teacher should say, and then just said what she said.
Right.
So the president literally said like, your kids are not your kids, they're all America's kids.
Right.
Like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah. And that's the mindset, and that's the scary thing too, is because it seems
saying
like
that they're not your, like, no, fuck you, they're my kid.
That's why
my kid.
You watch a kid show and there's politics in it. You know, it's because they're trying to sculpt your kid into being that next. Because if people stop conforming, the whole bullshit we're going through falls apart. If people stop going along with the like, okay, I'm going to do what the socially acceptable thing is, and if that becomes like the opposite of what everybody wants to do, or everybody wants to do the like, I'm going to do something outlandish, like things will change for the better. Because if you just keep everybody not questioning anything, then you can roll out CBDCs. Then you can roll out these different things that are, you know, they're talking about all the time, like lab-grown food. And you can roll these things out and people aren't going to question it. But if you have unique, self-sufficient individuals, that's the norm. Like you're not going to make any money off of those people.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, you know, and it's just making drones that you can make money off of.
If they're providing for their family, and they're mostly self-sufficient, and they're not on welfare, they're not asking for anything from the government, they're just doing, like you said, it's not going to make the government any money, you know.
It's not going to make BlackRock any more money.
Yeah, it's also not, it takes away from their influence in certain communities.
Yeah.
Because if you start to change like your whole community to be that way, I mean, like, and that'll grow.
Yeah.
I mean, that could change for the better. I mean, the future's scary, but you know, with the right, but like we said earlier, you know, it's always at the end.
Yeah.
You know, we're always in the end times.
Right. And that's it. There's always something to worry about. We're in a time period now where there is a lot of crazy shit happening, but at the same time, you have this 24 hours of today to do something. You know, it's still good now. Don't worry about it being bad now while it's still good.
Yeah.
You know, of course, if you have the resources, prepare yourself. Build a self-sufficient home in the mountains and have solar and have a farm and like do shit like that for sure. But if you're just trying to make it, do what you can to make it and build those things that will make sure you'll be fine no matter what the world climate is or what the situation is, and prepare yourself for that. Have a nest egg.
I feel like there's a lot of people, there is a lot of real men out there making their way for themselves. It's just, you're not going to see it online or, like it's not going to be.
They're not going to be an influencer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that guy's not going to be on Twitter.
But they're out there.
Right.
And just as many guys out there, just going through the motions and have no idea what they're doing and are confused. There's a guy that is going on that right path and building something for the future. And I also think it's up to like a fairly old age. I think it's never too late to start on that path. Yeah. Like you could be at nothing at 30 and still 35, and create that for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's not like you have to start. I mean, it's very beneficial to start in your early 20s, but it's not like you're fucked if you get to that point. I mean, you're fucked if you get to that point and you're unwilling to change your mind. Right. I mean,
if you've solidified yourself into that box.
But I mean, I think that it's always good to go in. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and we disagree on a lot of, not a whole lot, but just like ethical, some moral things, whatever. And we had a great conversation. Like there was no like bad argument. We were just discussing, and it was great. It was awesome. And we both like told each other like afterwards. We were like, I love that I can talk to you about this because we both went into this conversation thinking he knows something I don't, and I'm gonna listen to him, and I'm not afraid to change my mind on things.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, like I'm not just gonna stand on whatever I believe in just because that's what I believe in. I'm not afraid to. I'm not scared of changing my ideas or whatever, my opinions, what I want in life based on like certain evidence or what people say.
That's powerful.
Because, I mean, a lot of the times it's really hard to, because you have a thought on something, then you hear someone that completely disagrees with you, but if you just get pissed off at it, what's the point of even talking to them,
Right.
But just the fact of going into being willing to change I think that's a part of being a man as well, is being willing to change and not just being stuck on something your whole life.
That is a fantastic fucking point, dude. I completely agree with that. That's something I completely left out of my notes, but super important, because if you're unwilling to change your preconceived notions and change your mind about things, you're not going to grow. And really, to be a man is to grow.
Right.
To be a man is to continue growth throughout your whole life. Like, you think of like an old wise man, that's someone who's grown throughout their whole life and taken in information and changed their opinions. And I see a lot of people that are stunted because they reach a certain point and they're like, I'm not going to change a single thing about myself. I like sports. I'm good at sports. Fuck worrying about my emotions. Fuck worrying about my, and that's just as bad as drinking. That's just as bad as, doing something like that.
Well, yeah, because I think people's biggest enemy and their biggest, like, things that sets them back is themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you can blame everything on external things. It's very easy to make excuses and do that. But when you can realize that you're responsible for where you are, you're responsible for where you are right now in life and where you're going, and not just being like, well, oh fuck that guy for not giving me the opportunity to do this, or fuck, I'm in a bad spot right now. I don't live where I want to live. I don't have the car I want. I don't have a family. I don't have a wife.
Right.
And that's society's fault. I don't have the job I want.
Yeah. And that's society's fault. That's fucking this is that person that didn't give me an opportunity's fault. It's like, no, it's not at all. You could create your opportunity out of nothing. You just put yourself in the right circles with the right work ethic, you're gonna get something. You know.
Well, and it's like also not just putting yourself in the, like, not being afraid to, like, completely, like, let's say you're in a job for 10 years and you're comfortable there, like it's not great.
Right.
You're not like the happiest person in the world, but you know, you're fine, you're good.
Right.
You're making enough money. But you know, you hate your boss, and every day that you're just doing the most tedious thing, and it feels like you're having the same week every single week, and you're just going through the motions.
Right.
That I feel like that's more dangerous than being fucking homeless and fucking. I think being content with just being okay is, because whenever you're in such a bad spot, like homeless is an extreme example, but when you're like completely broke, completely fucked, you have no idea what you want to do, you're kind of forced to figure it out, and you, like we've talked about before, you know, struggle is what you need, that struggle to become better and
to find yourself.
But if you're just completely content and comfortable, where it's not really, I feel like what happens like in a lot of people's lives is, like I said, they get into a career, let's even like they get married to a person where everything is okay.
Good enough, right?
It's good enough.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're not happy.
Right.
You know, and you're not fulfilling a purpose in life. You're just kind of just going through it.
Yeah, just living.
And
I'd agree that's really dangerous. I would agree that it's dangerous in the sense too that being just kind of good enough and being like, oh, this is, you know, whatever, this is, I'm just going to go along with it because it is what it is. Like, that mindset is set to be reinforced by everything. That's why there's so many distractions, you know, because if you're in a position where you're unhappy and you have nothing to distract yourself from it, you're probably going to figure it out, you know.
Right.
But if you just have all these things in front of you that will allow you to ignore it, that will allow you to not think about it, that will keep you from asking yourself about it, and like, then what are you doing? You know, you're just kind of existing and going along with the motions, but you're not living, you know, you're just there. You're just doing it. It's just, I don't know, there's so much more to life.
It's very, very easy. I found myself recently, you know, doing that. And that same friend I had that conversation with said something that kind of describes what we're talking about, is where, you know, you go on let's say you're on a long drive and you've been driving for 2 hours. Right. And then like something snaps and you're there again and you're like, fuck, I've been driving for 2 hours. Right. And it's like you don't, like you were completely out of it. You don't even know how you got to where you are right now.
Because you were just existing.
And he was saying like, that's life. Like, you know, you're constantly snapping in and snapping out. Right. Like, but the way to avoid that is I think something I personally need to start doing better is like planning things out and scheduling my days, and quit living my life by accident. Right. You know? Right. Because if you're not like, you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, you don't even know what the fuck you're gonna do tomorrow. Right. You know, you're just going into it, you know, without like an accident. You know, you're living life like an accident at that point. And I've really been struggling with like going through the motions and autopiloting through life.
Yeah, it's easier to do than ever. Would you say you find yourself like, do you find yourself thinking about it in the moment, or do you find yourself just thinking about it after the time has already gone, you know? Like, when do you find yourself
like I'll do something like a common shift of mine at work is 12 to 8. Okay. So I'll wake up at like 9 or 10. I go to the gym 3 days a week. So on some days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to the gym first. Then I go home, shower. I go to work for 8 hours. And then I come home and play video game for like 2 hours and go to sleep. It's like the same fucking thing every single fucking time. Right. And it's just really easy to... And it's, I don't feel, like I said, it'll be like Monday one week, and then I'll wake up the next Monday and be like, oh my God, it's Monday again. Right. Like a whole week just went by, and it's like I can't even like remember anything, because it was like just such a... All
the same.
There was no memory built from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I feel that a lot now that Grayson is going to be his name, is on the way. And, you know, it feels like just a few weeks ago he was the size of a grain of rice, and now he's like over a pound, and he's way ahead of schedule. Yeah. And it's really surreal, and it's definitely the reality check that I've been looking for too, because it puts life into that perspective of, this is how much time has gone by. Literally in 6 months from a grain of rice to like a pound the size of like a jackfruit. Like that's something that is just hard to, because that puts time into a physical being, you know, it puts into an act. You see it grow every time you check in on it, and it just really, as for me, is really,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's really woken me up to the like how valuable time is and how much time really means, you know, how much that month, how much that is. That's so much growth. That's so much. How many hours is that, you know, how that you get in that month? And me and Marissa were talking about it. We were sitting there the other night and we were talking about how currently in life we are free enough to spend our time after work with each other, doing what we want to do, have enough time to do what we want to do with each other, do what we want to do separately, and save money. That's a fucking blessing. You know, a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
It's either just work, no time for their life with their partner, or no time to relax, you know. We're in a position where we have all of those things, but we have to keep pushing and keep working hard because we want to be able to do more of that, you know. Right. I don't want to be old, have 3 kids, and then not be able to do anything with my time but work because I have to support 3 kids. I want to be successful enough that I can make money and work, but support them and spend time with them and have the free time that me and Marissa have had together. We've been together almost 7 years now, but we've spent like so much of that time together, either working at the same job, living together. Like, we've built such a solid foundation that it's just, I want to be able to do it with my kids, you know. I want to sustain something where I can make a phone call because I run a business, and then put someone in place to do the job, and then make money and give that person money, or send an email. And that's where I want to be, you know. And I really have been trying to focus on how to make that possible.
Well, because in life, the most important job you're going to have is being a parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what anyone says, dude. Like,
I agree.
That's the most, and it amazes me that there are people out there that are like no children. Like, that's the thing, they don't want to have kids.
Well, think about the people that are super well off that have kids that then put nannies around their kids versus spending time with them. Like, that just blows my fucking mind. Like, that, your time.
Yeah, especially when you're that well off where you have the time to
do what you want to do. You can choose.
Yeah.
And you choose to put a nanny in place, or you choose to put a surrogate. Like, that blows my mind, because I want to do everything I can to spend every moment with Marissa, every moment with my kids in a productive way, you know, and I want to do everything I can to secure that. That's my whole goal. If I'm to make money, it's going to be to put it into like a piece of land that I build a home on and make it self-sufficient so I can spend as much time as possible with my family, you know, and that's my whole like idea. And everybody has a different version of like what their ideal life is. And if it is money, sure, but like, value what matters, you know. Give your kids your time if you're going to have kids. If you're not going to have kids, that is what you want from life. You just want to make money and do what you want to do. Okay, cool, do that. I respect that too. If you are individual and unique enough to say that and do that, cool. But I feel like so many people say those things like, oh, I just want to make money, I don't want a family, but then they're halfway out of it, like they actually do in the background. You know?
Well, and it's not even that, like just people like doing their own thing. It's people that like couples that are both like a really good friend of mine, interviewers, you know, him and his girlfriend have been, ever since I've ever been brought up conversation with them, neither of them want to have kids. Yeah. And like you said, like I want, if that's what they want out of life, like I'm not saying that's wrong or bad, I'm just,
that's your choice.
I don't understand it.
Right.
You know, especially when you found that person that you want to be with. Yeah. Like the wife that you're going to have, that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. Does that not motivate you to want to have a kid with them? I just don't get it. Like, I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but I don't understand.
I think a lot of people put societal pressures on having a kid too. Like, they look at like the political climate or the climate of it, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to bring a kid into this world. But
yeah, that's a big thing people say.
But in reality, like, we have it better than we've ever had it. I've said this so many times on this podcast, but we literally have it better than we've ever had it. We have more freedoms than people ever have had. Think about living through the Middle Ages. Think about living through the 1800s, you know, and then think about now. We have more freedoms. We have more ability to do what we want to do than ever, and people are worried about the future. It's just, people are never going to be satisfied. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Struggle is what creates good people.
Because I'm sure
know?
people 50, 100 years ago were saying, I don't want to bring a kid in this world.
Right. Yeah. Think about World War II. Think about
during the war.
World War One. Think about those things. People were still bringing kids in this world, and guess what? That's why we're here. You know, and birth rates are declining all over the world.
Oh, that's scary.
It's terrifying.
I've also seen something recently that how drastically T levels are going down.
Yeah.
Testosterone levels, and that affects your ability to have kids as well. So
well, my opinion,
scary.
fucking when soy and plastic are in everything we fucking eat, it's hard
food.
for your male body to be fertile.
Well, and people just aren't as active
testosterone.
as they used to be either. That's a big part of it. Not as active, not getting sunlight, and I think constantly like stressing yourself out and sitting at a desk all day. No wonder you have low testosterone.
Right,
you know?
right, because you're not doing anything that activates those chemicals.
And eating fast food all the time. You know?
Right. Yeah. I just and spending time outside, I feel like, is what I've thought and had more introspective thoughts being outside and being like in the mountains than I've ever had sitting at my fucking computer desk, or like. There's so much outside, and we're destroying it for money and spending our times inside, and it's sick. Hey everybody, so I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. We've gotten like 50 to 70 views per video. I'm really, really happy about that. Every view counts. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, leave a comment on each video, and I'd be happy to keep doing this and keep working harder at it and making more shorts, putting more on social media and different things like that. So if you enjoy what we're doing, please support us. We are going to put up a Patreon soon, and I appreciate you all that do watch, and have a good day.